No offense to the previous Air, but the new MacBook Air M2 actually looks and feels more like a MacBook Air. In fact, this is arguably the best laptop you can buy now. The new Air is smaller, lighter, and just a joy to carry around. More importantly, Apple packs this thing with super fast M2 performance, a bigger and brighter display, and a sharper webcam, all while maintaining epic battery life. And yes, it's nice to have some fresh color options. But is this $1,200 laptop worth $200 more than the $999 MacBook Air M1? Here's the pros and cons in my MacBook Air M2 review. At just 0.44 inches and 2.7 pounds, the MacBook Air M2 is a compact powerhouse. This laptop is 20% smaller by volume than the previous model, which makes it easy to carry around. I didn't even notice it in my backpack. Another plus is that the MacBook Air M2's display has grown a bit from 13.3 inches to 13.6 inches, thanks to the slimmer bezels. The downside is that the notch is at the top of the display and it's a bit of an eyesore. The port selection is pretty minimal, with just 2 Thunderbolt ports on the left and a headphone jack on the right. And there's a MagSafe charging adapter, which is convenient and could help protect the system if someone trips over your cord. In terms of colors, the new Air M2 has your typical silver and space gray, but Apple spices things up with Starlight, think pale gold, and especially Midnight, a cool dark blue that shifts colors in the light. The one thing you need to know about the MacBook Air M2's display is that it rivals the MacBook Pro M2, and that's because Apple has amped up the brightness. We're talking 495 nits in our tests with HDR content, compared to 490 for the Pro. The Dell XPS 13 OLED reached only 357 nits. When watching Minions Rise and Brew, this panel bursted with color while delivering wide viewing angles, and you should have no problem reading the display outdoors, even in direct sunlight. The MacBook Air M2's 4-speaker sound system gets plenty loud and delivers clear sound when streaming Spotify, but the audio is somewhat tinny compared to the MacBook Pro 14-inch with its 6-speaker setup. Just don't expect a lot of bass. The MacBook Air's M2 chip is a beast, as it handled my typical workload with ease, whether I was juggling dozens of tabs in Chrome, editing photos in Photoshop, or jumping between way too many conversations in Slack. Just keep in mind that we tested the pricier 10-core GPU model of the Air M2, so your results may vary. On Geekbench, which measures overall performance, the MacBook Air M2 hit 1932 on the single-core CPU test and 8919 on multi-core. That's 11% faster on single-core and 17% faster on multi-core versus the M1 Air. The MacBook Pro M2 was on a par with the Air M2, reaching 1898 and 8911. The new Air also excelled on the Puget Bench Photoshop test, which includes opening large files, resizing, rotating, and applying a bunch of filters. The MacBook Air M2 scored 821 to the Pro M2's 817. However, the new Air isn't as fast as the Pro when it comes to video editing. On our Handbrake test, which involves transcoding a 6.5 gigabyte 4K video to 1080p, the Air took 7 minutes and 52 seconds, and the Pro M2 was about a minute faster. The Pro also pulled ahead in a Premiere Pro benchmark with a score that's 100 points higher. With more of us doing video calls than ever before, Apple has stepped up on the camera with the MacBook Air M2 to 1080p, and it delivers a fairly sharp and colorful picture. There was a bit of a yellow cast when making a Google Meet call from home, but overall this sensor should satisfy. Despite its thin profile, the Magic Keyboard on the MacBook Air M2 is a pleasure to use, offering a good amount of travel and snappy feedback for extended typing sessions. I average just under 70 words per minute with 96% accuracy, which is comparable to what I get on a desktop keyboard. The trackpad is nice and big, as you'd expect from a MacBook, which makes it easy to perform various gestures. It's accurate, fluid, and just smooth. Another plus is having a Touch ID button in the keyboard, which makes it easy to unlock the MacBook and get working. I still wish Apple would adopt Face ID for Macs, which would help justify the notch. The MacBook Air M2 is one of the longest lasting laptops. On the Tom's Guide battery test, which involves continuous web surfing at 150 nits of screen brightness, the new Air averaged 14 hours and 6 minutes. The best Windows laptops tend to get in the 11-hour range, like the Asus ZenBook S. Now, the MacBook Pro M2 lasted even longer, with an obscene 18 hours of runtime, but I'm pretty happy with the Air's endurance. Apple includes a 30-watt USB-C charger by default, but you can upgrade to a dual USB-C charger for $20, which lets you charge 2 gadgets at once, or you could spring for the $20 67-watt charger for even faster charging. Overall, the MacBook Air M2 is the best laptop for most people, and that's saying a lot given the competition out there. You get faster performance than any Windows machine in this price range, and longer battery life in a design you'll be psyched to carry. The tougher question is whether to get the $999 MacBook Air M1 or the $1199 Air M2. The M1 is the better value, but I'd rather have the brighter display on the Air M2, MagSafe charging, and sharper 1080p webcam. And while the MacBook Pro 13-inch is a great option at $1299 with even better performance and battery life, I actually think the Air M2 is now a mini MacBook Pro in disguise. It's that good. For Tom's Guide, this is Mark Spoonhour.